Inclusion classrooms have been implemented more and more in schools across America. Inclusion classrooms allow students with special needs to be in a classroom setting with their peers who do not have special needs. There are many benefits of this type of classroom, and this documentary is going to delve into the positives of inclusion.
We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making.
I have interviewed Cindy Abney, a mother of twin boys who are in 7th grade. Drew was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. Both Drew and her other son Cole have been in inclusion classrooms for the duration of their educational careers. Let's see what Cindy has to say about their experiences. How do you feel that an inclusion classroom has benefited Drew?
For me, it's been about Drew having real-world experiences and situations, and inclusion has pushed Drew to adapt to a world that may not always adapt to him.
Right. Now, how do you feel that Cole has benefited from being in a classroom with other children with special needs?
I think all kids benefit from being in a classroom with kids with special needs. It just promotes understanding, compassion, tolerance, and the ability to work through differences.
That's great. And have you noticed that other children in Drew's class treat Drew with respect, and are they accepting and understanding of his autism, and do they fully understand what that means?
I think because I've been honest from the beginning about Drew's disability, the kids have been amazing, at least with Drew in his classes. They've all been very accepting and understanding, and I just think as a whole, we've all gotten something out of it, my kids and the kids in the class as well.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview with me. And I'm glad that the inclusion classroom has benefited both Drew and Cole and the other kids in their class.
It has.
From a first-hand experience, we're able to see that inclusion classrooms have promoted acceptance, tolerance, and understanding of differences. Cindy has stated that both of her children have benefited from inclusion classrooms along with other students who have treated Drew with respect and love. Drew has been exposed to a real-world experience and has been able to adapt to a world that doesn't always adapt to him. This success story is only one of many.
You've got a friend in me. You've got a friend in me.
As we can see, this research supports the incorporation of inclusion classrooms in schools. It establishes the efficacy and social validity of peer support arrangements as a promising alternative to individually assigned paraprofessional support or self-contained classrooms.
And what we realized we had to do was create a vision for Samuel and let him create a vision for himself. So what would that vision be? The vision that became obvious to us was that we needed to make sure that he felt like he belonged. That he belonged in our neighborhood, that he belonged in our community, and perhaps more than anything, that he belonged in his local school. Because how can you feel like you belong in your community if you don't feel like you belong in your own neighborhood school, which is the hub of the community? So that got us thinking about inclusion, because for him to go to his local school would mean they would have to work to include him in that field. Now in middle school, Samuel has a great circle of friends in 8th grade. He's in general education in all his classes, and he's on the honor roll. Now, if you're surprised by that he's on the honor roll, don't be. Because Samuel represents the statistics that we have built over 35 years around inclusive education. The statistics have shown that kids with disabilities who are included in general education classrooms have better outcomes socially, academically, in terms of behavior, in terms of post-school outcomes, in terms of everything you can imagine. Advocate for inclusive education in your communities and schools. Advocate for inclusive education. The truth is that there are all these research studies that are being done at universities that show academic benefits for typical kids who are learning in inclusive settings. And there's one particular study that was done at Vanderbilt where they did two groups of kids they studied. One group were in an inclusive environment alongside their peers with disabilities. One group was separated from their peers with disabilities. The group that worked alongside their peers with disabilities had an average of a 15-point increase in their academic achievement. And what they did is they figured out why that happened. And it was because when you're working collaboratively with a peer, with a friend, with somebody who might need a little extra assistance or some coaching, you're much more engaged in the curriculum. You want to understand it, you want to study it. So those kids were so engaged because they had this friend that they wanted to make sure that they were a good collaborator with.
Research and personal experiences of children and parents have exemplified the benefits of inclusion classrooms for both children with special needs and children without. Inclusion classrooms not only have benefits for the academic aspects of school, but also socially. It is so important for everyone to feel included and supported. As Dan Habib said, we must advocate. These children are our future, and we must provide them with an education that is most beneficial to them.